not here, so Todd, if you would do that for us. Please stand.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we are thankful to gather here this evening. We're thankful that and hope that you will come alongside us, that you will give us wisdom, that you will give us understanding, that you will help us to make wise and prudent decisions that will benefit our city, our residents. We're thankful for we live here in this beautiful city. We're thankful for the moisture that we've received, and we ask that it would continue this fall and into the winter and just replenish our lakes and reservoirs and streams, especially Powell and Meade and the Great Salt Lake. We are thankful for our city staff, for our residents, for the council and mayor here. But again, ask that you would just lead us and guide us and give us your wisdom this evening and help us to hear all the different inputs that we receive. And we lift this up to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Gary. Thanks, Todd. I'm going to move on to approval of the agenda.
Mayor, I'd like to make a change to item number D7.
Okay.
Change the public works director to a report from Stanley Consulting on the bypass.
Okay. So, yeah, JD is coming home from Salt Lake. He didn't make it back in time. So, Bob, you're good with that?
Yep.
All right. Perfect. All right. Any other changes on the agenda? Everybody can see?
Just omitting number 3, the Washington County
yes.
Sheriff's report.
Yep, they're going to come quarterly and give us a report. And Sean's not here today, but we'll hear from Riker instead. Okay. Any other changes to the agenda? Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda order.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Just we have a disclosures and declaration of conflicts from anybody at the city council and I, the mayor. I have none. All right, we're good there. Consent agenda. First item, let's review and possible approval of the meeting minutes from September 6, 2023, regular meeting, and September 20th, 2023, special city council meeting. Anybody see any problems with those meeting minutes?
I didn't, Mayor, make a motion to approve consent agenda item C1.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, review and possible approval of city expenditures from June 2023, July 2023, and August 2023. So lots of numbers to go through on those.
I didn't see any of our.
Did they not get in the?
No.
Okay, so we're going to table that for 2 weeks.
We need a motion or just?
Yeah, so let's do it. Yeah, I guess I need that.
I move that we go ahead and table item number C2, review and possible approval of city expenditures.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are to city department reports, city, county, all the good stuff. Ash Creek is not here this evening, so we'll start off with the Hurricane Valley Fire. Merlin, what do we have? I like this little report you gave us.
Yeah, it's something on our new program that we're using, able to print that out and kind of show the call volume where it's at. Wearing my beautiful pink shirt. You should see a lot of guys in pink this month, Cancer Awareness Month. So, guys do look good in pink sometimes. So that's what my wife said. So we'll see.
Well, you got to believe it then.
Yeah.
It's got to be true.
Okay, just kind of give you an update. I give you the copy of the overall. There is a discrepancy, though. I noticed it says 31 calls in Tokerville. I show 27 on my report. But anyway, 27 calls over here in Tokerville area, 9 medical and 18 other calls. Some of the others include breakdown of that. One of the calls was a gas leak, another public service, another one a water problem. And there's several that would be dispatched and then canceled en route. We have several fire alarms like at the gate Zion, not It's the one in
Lionsgate.
Lionsgate. Sometimes we'll get some calls there. We do several medicals out of there. And then sometimes when they cook in the morning, the new ranch over here, can't think of the name, starts with a K,
Kiva.
Kiva. Get those every once in a while. So you open up these new facilities, it takes them a little while to figure out how much smoke they can get before their alarms go off when they burn the toast. So, but we're always coming just in case it's the real thing. So 18 of those. Then you guys got the breakdown on the area. Heard you trying to do your math. But remember, Springdale doesn't get a lot of calls, so you got to give those calls to some of the other
Right,
stations.
but
So-
still, it's good. I mean, it's not a heavy load, which is great,
Yeah.
but
but it seems like all those calls come about the same time. Yeah, so you got all your stations out and going, but we're keeping up with them and everything's doing good. Burn season is open. If you want to get online, try to get a burn permit. Sometimes it'll be closed during due to the weather or the air index. It's got to be above 500 so we don't keep the smoke down in the valleys and smoke everybody out. So sometimes that's why it's going to be closed. I'd encourage you, if you get on early in the morning, sometimes and it's closed, get on about an hour later. Sometimes it opens up because that index goes up and they're able to open that up. So, but try to have it out before dark when everybody comes home and now you're smoking everybody out. So
I need to comment or compliment the fire district. Monday, midday, I was almost in an accident. I'd see a guy fly off the road and roll his car, and from Laverkin to here, they were under 5 minutes. So it was fast. They got here quick. So we appreciate having the Laverkin station open. It just makes it that much quicker.
yeah, it does.
So-
And yep.
Yeah. So, and we'll talk about, yeah, it was kind of fun to watch, except a good thing he didn't get hurt, but it looked just like Hollywood going off of the ledge and, not quite a ledge, it's pretty steep.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. Sometimes you'll see these accidents and nobody's hurt, and then a little fender bender and somebody's beat up. So
Yeah. He
all
was lucky.
luck of the draw. So
You guys did a good job. Got here quick. It was great. So, all right. Is there anything else?
no, I think that's it. We'll be doing a blast down here on the curve down here tomorrow about 1:00. So if you hear any noise, that's probably what's going on.
All right. Thank you. Riker.
So last week I had the opportunity to attend the American Planners Association conference. Received some good training about the new subdivision ordinance that's going to be coming before you that we're working on. And then in addition to that, just working on about 7 other ordinances that should come before you in the next little while. So
Perfect. Afton.
We'll just kind of report that Keddington and Christensen performed our on-site audit. We talked about that. That was our pre-audit assessment. They are coming back in October 18th and 19th for the final audit. So they'll be in town for 2 days. That'll be with Marcus's office. At this time, 33% of the year has elapsed. We've only spent 26% of the budget. So we're staying on track there. We continue working on grants. We had our kickoff meeting this week for our FEMA brick grant. We met with the engineers at Rosenberg Associates, who was with Jared Bates. That's our certified floodplain manager. This is for the grant that cleans out Ash Creek and Laverkin Creek. So that project is underway. That has funded. We were also successful. The grant that we had applied for was $38,000 for the study, and the city was going to have to do a match, but we were successful in getting additional funding for that grant. And so the $12,000 match has actually funded from FEMA as well. So Tokerville City, we did not pay for any of that with our property taxes. So that was a good win there.
Afton, what is the project there itself?
They're doing an erosion hazard assessment along Ash Creek and Laverkin Creek. So those creeks are kind of overgrown. And so on those waterways, we're doing an erosion hazard assessment. And so we applied for federal funding for that so that they can come in and do the actual study. And then what that does is once we have that study, that's what allows us to do our trail system along the river to stabilize the banks, the trail system that we talked about in our capital facilities plan. It's the first step in applying for all of the other funding that we would need, but it also helps us. So in City of St. George, when you're along the Virgin River and Riverside Drive, it's the same thing. They cleaned out the Virgin River and then they were able to use that study and the results of that along with 5 counties natural hazard mitigation plan. And then they have crews come in the summertime that the city does not pay for, and they do the actual work to clean out the waterways. So first will be Ash Creek, the next will be Laverkin Creek, and then we can apply for the next round of funding that would allow us to build a trail system along the rivers. So, yeah, so that's what we're currently working on. In addition to that, we mentioned that we've applied for the water infrastructure grant in the amount of $4.5 million for a 2 million gallon water tank and associated pump house out on the west side of the city. We will hear back from that in December. So that's exciting. That was through the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. I was able to attend the Utah League of Cities and Towns and the One Utah Summit this month. Both of those were very insightful. They have over 800 bills being introduced to the legislature right now. They said that's more than what they had last year combined. And so at the same time, they have more in front of the legislature than that they had the entire time last year. So they said a lot of people that were not able to submit bills at the last session are able to now. So they've just been inundated with those. The One Utah Summit, the governor he talked a lot about bringing people together, that they're just seeing a lot of divisive language in town halls and in cities. So we talked a lot about that, talked about trail systems in Utah. They talked a lot about electric vehicles, talked about bringing transit to places. I attended a really interesting breakout session that was about economic development, and it was about the inland port that's in Cedar City and how that will affect Washington County. And then our local community report, just an update on the Westfield Park. They are going to be out there doing the concrete for the shade structure for the little park tomorrow. So that shade structure has come in. They're going to be doing all of the site work on that. The landscape design is done. The restroom design is done. We've brought in the fill dirt. And then we're choosing a contractor within the next 3 weeks to get that going for the restrooms and all of the landscape design. We are going to be putting out a survey for the citizens to give us some feedback about Center Street Park. We have a basketball court down there. We have pickleball courts that we've received some bids to redo those pickleball courts. The paint's peeling, and we've tried to rehab those. So we've received 3 different estimates for that will be presented to council in 2 weeks. And they came in at one at 15, one at 17, and one at 20. 20,000 to redo those pickleball courts at Center Street. But we have a lot of residents that are calling us wanting to rent those and want to see those used. And so we have a basketball court there that's not used hardly at all. And so what people are doing is they're putting out tape on that pickleball court and bringing their own net and setting that up. So we are going to put out a survey. We just want to see what residents think about possibly turning that basketball court into a pickleball court, and then relocating the basketball hoop to somewhere else at Center Street or around there. So that's something that we're working on. We've talked a couple of times just about the recreational grant for Tokerville Falls. We haven't heard any updates on that. They did say they were successful in securing the funds, but we haven't heard any updates back. So we're going to have a meeting with Hurricane City and with Greater Zion to find out where they are with that project. And then we'll have a report on that at the next one. Our general plan, we've received the final draft that's been distributed. We've received back the comments and feedback. That will be at a public hearing at Planning Commission. And then we'll have it in front of City Council right after that. So that's where we are with that. Sarah had a meeting with the web designers for our website. There are just a couple of boxes that we need to check to just go through the formatting of the forms so that can go live within the next 2 weeks. And then, just another reminder, just that we can apply for permits online, that you can do your nightly rental. We have 2 of those left in the city. If this one that's on the agenda passes, we have 2 left in the city. So if you're thinking about applying for a nightly rental, this is probably the time to do it. Just remember to license your dogs. We have lots of people coming in and asking questions about that. And then you can reserve the park and town hall and et cetera online. So that's where we are.
Can we have JD's not here, but can you tell us about our water system? We had the inspections from the state.
Yep. I actually had, I'll just read an email that I had sent back to Todd Sands. He had asked for JD to do kind of a report on water. And so we had sent this back, and I'll just kind of read some of this. And so we were talking about having it on as a discussion or as a presentation. And people have had lots of questions just about our water system and the way that that works. And so a couple of things that I verified with JD, people were just looking for reassurance that our water system is safe, that it's secure, and just wondering about some of the fail safes and the measures that we have in place. And so this one is the one that went back, and we just said, we said we'd like to offer reassurance that we have multiple fail safes in place. A few of these ultimately include excess storage capacity in our tanks, a looped water system, backup batteries, a generator, and extra pumps on hand, and the ability to bypass our current system and pump from our Anderson Junction tank using Water Conservancy District water if needed. In short, if anything were happen to our system, we can still have water from the district. We may simply have lower pressure. Our system allows us to repair one tank at a time and isolate lines as well. For example, our Westfield water tank developed a hole in the bottom of it, and there were no adverse effects while it was offline for repair. Also, after our state water sanitation inspection, which took place last week, the state found no deficiencies with our tanks, pumps, and lines with regard to sanitation. The Public Works Department checks the SCADA system daily, which is the software that monitors the level of water in the tanks. They take 2 samples monthly and submit them to the state to test for bacteria such as E. coli and coliform. They also test for chlorine 3 times per week, and that's for state code. In addition, we verified 2 days ago that the Public Works Department has installed 288 out of 396 received water meters. This is just for an update on those water meters. And we're actually out of the 288, we're actually at 303 as of today. They were waiting for the lids and the endpoints to get those meters installed. So this is an ongoing project, and meters are installed as all components are received. We scheduled a meeting with Sunrise Engineering, which I had that meeting with them to discuss applying for a Water Smart infrastructure grant to cover about $50,000 worth of the remaining meters. And then JD can report more on, at the next one. But those are some things that we've done that are in place that we feel like we're way ahead of the game, way ahead of the curve, and we have backups, fail safes, and have secured our water system. So
Perfect. And all of our guys are water,
yeah, and one of the great things about Tokerville that I don't know if a lot of people understand is that a city of our size is only required to have our water operators certified at what's a level 2. The state of Utah offers up to level 4 water certification. That's the highest level of water certification that you can have. And 100% of our public works staff is level 4 water certified. It's the same test, costs the same fee to do it. So rather than getting them certified in level 2, we have them all take the level 4 test, and they've all passed that test. So they can respond early. They can all be on call. They also, in addition to that, we had them all get CDLs so that they could drive any type of, equipment, dump trucks, anything to leaks, so that they can respond early and often. So we've done that. They're also traffic control certified. So our public works has a lot of training, and they are all certified at the highest level of level 4 water certified. So that's huge. We're the only city that has that in Washington County. So that's huge.
So it's a little easier when you have 5 or 6 guys.
Well, we got more than Hurricane.
Yeah, we do.
More than Hurricane. So we're
It's great.
really say that. So they've done hard. They've worked hard and taken those tests. So.
Yeah, they're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Everything, the parks look better. The cemetery looks awesome. They're really doing a good job.
Yeah, I should have reported on that in my report, that the cemetery, hopefully people are noticing that it's looking better. They've fertilized it. They've gone through that. And then for our Tree City project, we had all the trees trimmed up at the cemetery. It looks great up there. We were up there the other day. Hopefully we're going to be moving forward on we have the American flag, we have the Utah flag, but we're going to be moving forward on a kind of a stem wall with a sidewalk up there on that center section where we can have all of the branch flags up there, 7 of those. It'll be really pretty if we can get that, but that'll come before council once we're done with the design. That'll be presented to the public and the council. So,
Hopefully we'll have it in 2 weeks, right, Darren? Perfect. Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else, Afton?
I think that's it, unless you have any questions.
You guys good? We got a straggler came in. He's already been passed on his agenda. Can we back up? I mean, I don't know if I want to hear about the sewer, but
You're the chair, but if you don't want to hear about sewer,
I heard about it last week. Mike.
He's here. Let's hear him.
Mike Chandler, the great Mike Chandler from the sewer
He
district.
made the effort. Let's.
Yeah, let's hear you. Let's hear you. You're here.
I apologize for the late arrival. Just a couple of quick updates. We'll start on the south end of town. Our Confluence Park wastewater treatment plant is well underway. The final bids for all the equipment, everything are being accumulated now by the contractor. We'll be those and assembling what's called our GMP, guaranteed maximum price, with our bidding process. And we should have that ready for award on November 14th at our board meeting. Our board meeting was switched to accommodate that, but the contractor should be mobilizing just after the Thanksgiving holiday out onto Confluence Park. We'll start to see dirt move out there. So we're excited to be able to get up and moving with that. That's going to be a key component of the county-wide water reuse system. We've been working with the Washington County Water Conservancy District, St. George, and ourselves are kind of the three agencies that deal with wastewater treatment of reuse, and then extension of that use throughout the county to offset a lot of the future domestic water that we anticipate saving through a reuse system countywide. So they're actually working on not only a pump station at the Confluence Park treatment plant, but also a pipeline that will run from the treatment plant up to the Tokerville Irrigation Forebay, and then ultimately all the way back to Anderson Junction. So in those times when we're not applying water to the park, we'll be conveying it back to the reservoir for storage and use in future. Secondly, we're coming to the end of our first leg of sewer installation there on SR 17, just come from really down there at the bridge all the way back to the junction now with the new bypass road. So we've been the cause of most everybody's pain for the last couple of weeks, as we've had to relay a larger sewer line in preparation for kind of regional expansion in that area. So we appreciate everybody's patience, and although I don't think the pain of that road construction is going to go away just yet. So a few things there. We've got our development coming out on Firelight with them moving dirt now. We're going through and revisiting the plans for the pump station that they have that will be coming down that new pipeline and feeding into the regional sewer line over to Confluence Park. Additionally, we've also kind of given initial sign off on Settlers Junction, along with reviewing plans for kind of the Sapp Brothers property up on the north end. We've continued to receive inquiries regarding properties there on the, well, not the north, to the south, west of Anderson Junction, the old Mills property, which has been divided. Folks looking to pump from that location all the way back up to Anderson Junction. We have expansion throughout the greater county, looking for ways to connect and access sewer treatment capabilities. So it's been very busy this last month. We've got a lot of things going on throughout the county. For those who may not be aware, a year ago we annexed Apple Valley. We're in the process. I think city attorneys know that we can say that Virgin is looking like that's a good possibility. And I don't even want to say the other town possibly that might join, because
Oh, they're having a fit over there. We don't want to talk about that. So
we won't say that. But it's immense pressure on us. As you may know, and serving on our board, you are well aware, but as we add a new community, that's a significant liability that we take on. It's a slow growth. It's a lot of responsibility. It's not necessarily any sort of a boon or a feather in our hat, but we also recognize that we need to have orderly development throughout the county to protect our water resources. That's something that we've been mindful of all along, and try to continue to be so as those communities continue to grow, and many of those are kind of on the borders of our key watersheds, that what we use for our daily drinking water. So important things happening, a lot of growth still in spite of ambiguous economic conditions with interest rates and other things, but we'll continue moving forward with a lot of promised growth on the horizon. So I'm happy to take any questions, but that's my report for this month.
thanks, Mike. Anybody got any questions for Mike? Joey, I know you like talking about.
last Thursday.
I know, but I figure you might have some new ones by now. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, we'll get back on track. Attorney Snow.
Nothing that's not on the agenda.
Mayor, I just had one other thing I needed to report on mine when I was looking at my notes, and it was about the grass rebate for the water district. We've had people asking, as of right now, Tokerville City has not, we have not adopted an ordinance that qualifies for the grass rebate. We're working on that and working through Planning Commission. So even though people will be seeing things that say that the Water Conservancy District is offering money for ripping out your grass, Tokerville does not qualify for that yet because we have not passed a landscape ordinance, but we are working on that. So if you're ripping out your grass right now thinking that you're going to go over to the district and get paid, that won't work.
No, and you need to take a plan over to the Water Conservancy District, submit the plan
Right.
before you.
Yeah, it's a
there's
process.
a
You've got to go
process.
fill out the application and do
Yeah.
all of that
Yeah.
first.
So there's a process, and we are working on that ordinance. We'll get that signed and over to the district, so we can be on that list. All right. You guys have any questions for anybody? Bob, you're up. Stana Consultants, have a report.
Thanks, Mayor, for having me, council. Bob Lamoureux, if you don't know me, I'm the resident engineer over the bypass road. Just a quick update. Daisy might have a video. Oh, good. So this is a video that JP Excavation puts together. We're starting out on the south end of the project, which is SR 17. And as Mike talked about, we've had quite a bit of work going on in 17, and that's putting in new services where there are a lot of existing services and old services. It's taken longer than we would like, but it's ongoing and we're getting towards the end of that. We're probably about halfway through the cut in the Hogsback. So there'd be some significant changes there in the next, few weeks as they get that down to grade. But obviously you guys can see it's moving along really well. As he gets over the hill, as the video gets over the hill here, you'll see the abutments are built for the Ash Creek crossing. So we're waiting on girder delivery, which should be the 4th week of October is the plan right now. And then the utility bridge, which is those smaller abutments on the right-hand side there, that should be delivered the 3rd week of October. So anyway, they're a little bit behind schedule, but doing really well with their schedule with everything that's happening there. William Charles on phase A, we just have a couple of items that we're waiting from them. And then we just need to finish out their, what we owe them for the work they've done, and they'll be completely off-site. There's a little bit of cleanup that they're still doing, but that's all that's left there. Questions? Yes, Chuck?
Do we have a meeting tomorrow at 9 or 10?
One at 9, but not at 10.
Okay.
Yeah. You bet.
I think it's looking great. You guys, and you're blasting tomorrow, according to fire.
O'clock is what it's scheduled for.
Don't tell anybody. So,
Too late. Yeah.
so you guys got any questions?
Thank you. How are we looking on the pedestrian tunnel crossings and
Oh.
getting the lava rock off so the side-by-sides have access to go through?
Yeah, that's one of the things that William Charles is doing is what we're going to do is put a little more material in there.
Okay.
Some smaller yeah.
material, so that'll make that more drivable.
Okay.
So I don't have an update on that. I'll check with them tomorrow to see what the schedule is on that.
Okay.
So
We had questions. People were hoping that we could close the parkway or how
Yeah.
it's closed off. They were hoping that we could take a Saturday or something and have people drive that, but we've just been telling where it's an active construction site that we can't have the public on that roadway yet. And especially where Firelight is starting to grade and they're going to be taking big trucks up and down the parkway that we can't do that till it opens. So.
Yeah, the liability for the
Still
city
Yeah.
is not, yeah, we don't want people out there, right, Bob? That's,
you can
but yeah,
see
and I think
that,
if
yeah.
you had them out there one Saturday, then there'd be
Yeah.
more the next
yeah.
Then
Yeah.
I want to show my friend.
Still
what I saw.
inactive, yeah, exactly. Just where it's
Okay.
still an active site.
All right.
If you got a flyover like that would be a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we get another flyover, put it on our website, maybe that's something we could do.
Yeah.
Put the whole road
Yeah, we
there.
can post
I
that.
can do that. I can talk to Tyler and see if he
See
can
if
do
you'll
that.
fly the whole thing
Yeah.
and give us a 5-minute video we can post and.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Good
And
idea, Merlin.
you guys, I'm sure have all noticed up on the other end, the Settlers Junction,
Mhm.
that they've kind of completed it's about 90% completed tie in there.
Yeah, they're asking
Some of
their
it is
turn
temporary.
lanes and,
Yeah.
yeah. looking good.
So it's coming along. They should be done with that part of it here in the next week or so. So,
That's great.
Thank you.
you
Thanks,
bet.
Bob.
Yep.
All right, we're going to go into our public forum section of our meeting. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address, and let's talk about anything that's not in our agenda tonight. So bring up new items, not agenda items.
Thank you, City Council. First off, let me thank you guys for your tireless work and vision that you're working on here for our community.
And it's Dean Haymore, right?
Oh, sorry, Dean Haymore, Sunshine Lane. I'm just a regular. Also, I'd like to, well, I guess I can't say because it's on the agenda about the monies and everything else. My lifespan with your new fee schedule for the, I agree, you guys are underpaid, staff is underpaid. I've been there. I know what you go through and how many hours you put in for your community and how much your family sacrifices for you guys all to do that too. Also, I just wanted to remind you that I've been through 200 years already of generations of my great-grandfather that lived in the 1800s, to my parents that were born in the early 1900s, to me in the 1950s, and then my children, and then my grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And we spare over, that's 5-6 generations. And in my previous employment, I asked the Lord to direct me every day that I would do decisions that would make my great-great-great-grandchildren a better place for them to live and to enjoy the things that I got to enjoy in my lifetime. So also with that, there's things and decisions that you guys have to make. The Planning Commission has to recommend for different things throughout the growth of this great city. I also commend you on that. I believe in the saying of being honest with your fellow men, that everybody should be treated honestly and everybody should be compensated honestly if they provide something for this great city. But I also believe that prior commitments or verbal sayings that were given 10 years, 15 years ago, that you guys, that you have responsibilities now on a project that you just saw that's been in the works for 20 plus years. And that caution on the decisions that you make all the way through the developers coming and the economic development that is needed here. I believe that economic development is greatly needed. I'd also offer my help to help that economic development properly done by going in and seeing what assets we have in this city and then going after the right kind of companies with minimum impacts on environment, minimum impacts on traffic, minimum impacts for life safety that impacts all of us. So once again, I thank you, I commend you, and I just ask the new saying, think celestial, think honest and true in everything you do. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Hello, Chris Butterworth at 1643 South Rimview Drive up in Toker Heights. And I just had a comment about our amendments that talks about the different zoning for our maps in relationship to what we're going to be talking about a little bit later. I didn't have all this when I was speaking at the city council, but the upcoming changes to
The general plan or?
no, this is for the Jake's.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, yeah, it's on the agenda, so we don't want to.
Yeah, I was just going to say how it was obstructing according to the ordinances that we have in Tokerville.
Okay, but that's on the agenda. Yeah, we're not supposed to talk about agenda items in this part. So
Oh, okay. I thought
this isn't a public hearing for
right.
that. That public hearing was at the last planning and zoning committee.
Yeah, and I did some of that
So,
too.
okay.
Thank you.
So. Anybody else like to bring something up new? All right, we're going to move into our public hearing. All right, let me scroll this down real quick. The public hearing, item 1, public hearing is sought on resolution 2023, a resolution adjusting the monthly compensation for the mayor, city council, and planning commission commencing July 1st, 2023. So we put this all in the budget. It went through the budget. Everything got approved and passed. But then we found out that to do this, we actually have to have a public hearing and an ordinance to do this. So we're backtracking, and now we're having a public hearing on this. So the public hearing is now open for this item. Anybody want to discuss? Dean's already talked about it. We don't get paid enough. Thank you, Dean. Anybody else want to say anything? Okay, public hearing is now closed. We are going to move on to item G1, discuss and possible action on resolution 2023, a resolution adjusting the monthly compensation for mayor, city council, and planning commission commencing July 1, 2023. Mayor will go from $500 to $1,000. City council member will go from $200 to $300. Planning commission chairperson will go from $0 to $200. Planning commission member will go from $0 to $100. Planning commission alternates will go from $0 to $50. Any questions?
We just, as staff, had a couple of questions. One of these, 3 questions that we would specifically like you to consider. The first one is, these are all for planning commission members. We are needing direction of if they are going to be paid per meeting, if that will include special meetings. Like, for example, we had 2 last.
I think it should be per month.
Okay. And then
That's my
how
opinion.
the council's is.
Guys, monthly.
Well,
The alternates, I think, was a per meeting. Some of the alternates.
and then, that's the first question. Do you want me to just
Yeah.
read all 3?
Yeah,
So
go
that's
ahead.
the first question is if the commissioners are paid per meeting to include special meetings to like how we had 2 last month. The next is what rate are the alternates being paid if they are filling in for a commissioner? Because we have one rate for alternates. And so would they just automatically assume the commissioner so that's another one. And then the third one is that if they watch YouTube but are not physically at the meeting, is that still considered a paid meeting?
What do you guys think? I have my opinion. Let's hear yours.
I'd say no on the last one.
Yeah,
They need to be here.
And I think it should stay monthly also. It's just too hard to track. And
Yeah.
then
And then if someone's filling
the
in,
alternate fills in, I think they should get the full amount.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with all that, except
Yep.
for I would lean toward per meeting. So if there is a special meeting, they should get compensated for that.
but do we do that for the city council? We have 2 or 3 extra meetings a month, so.
6 or 5?
No,
Yeah.
it's gotta be per month.
Just
I think
Per month.
yeah, just to
Okay.
keep our budget
That's fine.
straight.
Otherwise, they'll have
rates
a
of-
meeting every week.
Short this month. Let's have a couple of extra meetings. We all good with that? We don't need a motion. Okay. Well, we have to motion this. Any other questions on what we've discussed and what we've done?
I'd just like to make a comment to the public that nobody on the city council or planning commission asked for a salary increase. So I don't know where it came from, I think.
The mayor didn't ask either.
Yeah, so it's here, it's on the agenda. I think somehow or other the.
Well,
It actually came from me. It
Oh,
came
did
from
it?
me
Oh,
in one
Todd
of the,
asked. Oh,
in
I'm
our,
sorry.
it was our, yeah. what was
a
it?
budget- it was
a
What
budget-
meeting was that?
budget
Budget
strategy.
strategy. So it came from me.
Okay,
Public hearings. That was a
All right.
public hearing. That
so
was a
there's
pub-
your man.
I mean,
Well, we definitely don't do this for the money.
no.
No,
It's,
none of us do.
I mean, Joey, what did we spend last week alone? That was, I don't
A lot
know,
of
I
time.
don't want to add that one up, but yeah, anyways. Okay. I need a motion so we can carry on. Nobody wants to give themselves a raise?
No.
You need the,
And I just want to say that this is what we're doing tonight is actually a formality. When we adopted our budget in June, we held a public hearing, and we held a public hearing for the overall budget for Tokerville City, and this passed at that. So this was already in place. When we went to the League of Cities and Towns in their budgeting one, they mentioned that lots of cities, now that state code says you have to have, if at any point in time, city council is going to give themselves a raise, is what that's considered, that it requires an additional public hearing. So this already passed in the budget. under a public hearing, but it was part of the overall budget. For this particular line item, we needed to have this public hearing. So that's what we're having. So it's already in the approved budget. It just needs for this line item in the budget.
Okay. Do you need the special instructions for planning commission in the motion?
I think,
No, those
No?
are just administrative. Those are fine.
I'll make a motion to approve business item G1.
I'll second it.
And will you guys just speak into your microphones? Chella's having a hard time doing meeting minutes on a couple of the motions. She can't hear.
okay. This is a monetary thing, so we'll start with a roll call vote. Chuck?
Aye.
All right.
Aye. All right, motion approved. Item G2, discuss some possible action on parcel locker cement pads in Tokerville. So I was approached by our, not the post office, but our, what do you call it? Our,
Will you pull this up?
it's the person who is contracted with the post office to deliver our mail. They need more parcel lockers. We're getting too many Amazon packages, not a place to put them all. So they've asked us to put in 12 new pads. They're by existing lockers. They just want to add a locker to each one of these places to make it easier for them to deliver and make it easier
We
for
Sure.
citizens to get their mail without having to go down.
Yeah.
So that's basically what they want to add next to the existing mailboxes.
Have the boxes. The ask of the city, what they're asking for the city council to consider is the concrete for the
Yeah,
pad.
just
It's
the-
just the concrete. So if you want to go back to the
Is this going to be
locations.
installed in-house or are
And
we
then
going
there
to get a
too.
bid? to-
Yeah, the Public Works will pour the pads.
They're little
super
4x4
small.
pads.
Yeah, they're
I was
small.
curious.
Yeah, we can go,
They'll
they can go get her,
self-perform.
grab one of those little drag behind mixers and 2 yards and
Self-perform.
do the whole thing in a day and be done.
Okay.
So,
So, yeah. So JD was getting estimates for this. We don't have the estimates back yet, but we're thinking it's going to be just a few $1,000s and that it would really add to the community. Daisy, the other one that I sent you has, I think, 2 additional locations, one on Mountain Charm and the other, I think, just the one. I neglected to add. Yeah, the box is on Mountain Charm. So there you go. So
that one's 14 inches wide by 48 inches deep. So just enough room to,
just
Put an
enough to
extra
put that little
box.
locker on there.
So the cities, they're asking for the city to do the concrete pads
Yeah.
and they're gonna do.
So we would do the labor and the concrete. They'll do
Put
the
the-
boxes.
They're gonna they're gonna install the boxes.
But they'll supply the boxes. We'll pour the concrete and we'll put the boxes
Right.
in.
So we're
We'll
doing the
set them.
boxes also.
But not paying for the boxes.
Right.
They're-
But
Yeah,
we're installing them. So
They're
we're doing the concrete pad and we're doing the
and then just
installation
installing the
of
boxes. Exactly. They'll provide the boxes. So, yeah, exactly. But yeah.
so do we need to put a monetary number on this for approval?
Yeah,
Should we
we
say-
were thinking that it's going to be a couple $1,000s. And so we'd like to ask for it to not exceed 5,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, there's the ask, guys.
Need a motion.
Yes.
I move that we approve the concrete pads for the new postal lockers not to exceed $5,000.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion on this item? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, Heath, that's under $5,000. Do we need a vote, roll call on that? It's money?
Yeah, it's my
Okay, money. Joey?
any money.
Sorry.
Aye.
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 All right, still carries. All right, item D3, discuss the possible action on assigning a Tocqueville City Code Enforcement Officer. Afton has spoken with Jason Levitt. I have spoken with Jason Levitt. He has agreed to do it in a temporary volunteer just for now until we can get somebody else hired. We've got somebody else in mind. We just got to put the word out there. But Jason is agreed to do it for a short time. So we need to, approve his name, then we'll get him sworn in the next meeting. So that's kind of
We'll
this.
swear him in today, it looks like, right?
Yeah, but he's not here, so.
He couldn't make it.
Gotcha.
So he'll still, if you, man, he'll still be.
So we could have had him a little longer, I think, but Chuck already hired him, so we can't.
Yeah, we tried. Chuck
We
did.
tried. So in the interim time, Jason will do it for us. We just need to get a motion to get his name so we can swear him in.
I move that we go ahead and approve business item G3.
Let's put Jason Levitt's name in there. Add that to the motion.
Approving
Yeah.
Jason Levitt
Yeah.
as a city code enforcement officer.
Okay. And you second, so good, Joey?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we are going to skip item G4. We'll get that in 2 weeks. G5, discuss an ordinance 20.
And Mayor,
Yes.
I actually have a question on that, and this is for Attorney Snow. We can swear him in any time, though. It doesn't have to be in a public meeting. Is that
Okay,
correct?
so, I'll
So we
get,
might just have you come down.
Yeah.
Daisy will do the swearing in, but we'll,
I'll
yeah,
come,
we have,
I'll talk to Jason
Great.
and I'll come down with him.
Yeah, so-
Witness it, make sure he does it right.
thanks.
All right, item G5, discuss on ordinance 2023 general plan applicability to modify the consistency policy. So,
What's that?
so what this means is in our ordinance right now, the general plan, it says it's a guarantee, we have to follow what the general plan, it's not a general plan, it's a hard, fast rule. The state has come down and said we'd like it to be a general plan, something you don't have, you follow it, but you don't have to hit it exactly. Heath, you want to?
Yeah.
And just real quick, just on that, just a little bit of clarification. So state code, and if you want to pull that up. So what this is talking about, and just for the public that's here, we obviously have a general plan. Every city has a general plan. And the plan can either be a general guiding document, an advisory guide, which ours says it is an advisory guide. It says, except as provided in this section, the general plan is an advisory guide for land use decisions, the impact of which shall be determined by ordinance. So ours says that it's an advisory document, but then we have in ordinance, Daisy, if you'll go to that, we have the general plan applicability. And so for here, we have under general plan applicability, the first one says the general plan is a general plan for the community, a general guide for making land use decisions. But then we have the consistency policy where right below it, where it says in accordance with Utah, and it mentions the code, the city council has adopted a policy that all land use decisions, which we don't, so this is the policy, that all land use decisions, zoning and the location of streets, parks, utilities, and public buildings must be in conformance with the general plan. This is accomplished by rezoning parcels that are not consistent with the general plan, or if circumstances warrant amending the general plan. So in here, it's saying, so what we're trying to accomplish is, and what council needs to have a discussion about and decide, is that in state code, Daisy, if you want to pull up the state code, it says that general plans, so it just says that general plans are advisory, but you can have an ordinance that says otherwise. So when we went to the League of Cities and Towns, this is something that's going to go before the legislature. Well, it's a proposed bill to determine whether general plans are going to be advisory or regulatory documents. And in addition to that, there's another bill that's in effect that's specific to that is going to be heard, that is specific to zone changes, where they're trying to make zone changes an administrative function rather than a decision for the council or for planning commission or council. So we're trying to be on the front end of this. Just in total transparency, we have taken this to Planning Commission twice now. It's been heard. Attorney Snow was there for one of these meetings where we've taken this to Planning Commission and we've had a conversation with them. They feel that it should stay that it's that it is that they feel that it should be a regulatory document. The language says it's advisory, so we just need some direction. We're under pressure to make sure that this is either advisory or regulatory, but that's where we are. So.
Yeah, if I could take it one step further, I don't know if any of you have seen the draft or the final draft of the proposed updated general plan, but it was forwarded to me. I had an opportunity to look at it and give Riker some feedback. And as I looked at it, and under Utah code, it says that a general plan should have a land use map. We have on page 14 of that draft a land use map that is very, very general. And I would ask that you guys, if you look in your SharePoint, I just uploaded a document called General Plan Discussion, and it has a lot of the same things that Afton just discussed. But do you want to pull that up, Daisy?
Yeah, it should be in your SharePoint.
You did
Okay.
that this evening?
Yeah, I did that this evening during the middle of this meeting so that we could see it. It just says that a municipality under 401, we shall prepare and adopt a comprehensive long-range general plan. And then in 2, it tells you, it says a general plan may provide, and then there's a list. And then scroll down just a little bit further to the next yellow area. It says, subject to subsection 9A 403, a municipality may determine the comprehensiveness, extent, and format of the general plan. So what the problem that we have here is that some cities take their general plan and say, even though the statute appears to give us direction that it's advisory, some have adopted their general plan and treated it as regulatory. Our ordinance appears to do the same thing under the general plan applicability. If you want to scroll down to at the bottom of the next page where it's our consistency policy, I highlighted in red right there. It says that all land use decisions, zoning, location of streets, utilities, public buildings must be in conformance with the general plan. It says, except if you'll scroll up to 9A 405 right there, and I think this is the confusion. It says, except as provided in 10-9A 406, the general plan is, and I have that in red, is an advisory guide. 9A 406 is right there below it, and it talks about a city. If we adopt a general plan, it says the city, after it's been adopted, we cannot place a street, park, or other public way, ground, place, or space, and no publicly owned building or structure and no public utility, whether publicly or privately owned, may be constructed or authorized until and unless it conforms with the general plan. So as a city, we have to strictly comply. And that's where it gets a little bit confusing, because I read our consistency policy, and it does talk about the locations of streets, parks, utilities, and public buildings, but it also says, and zonings have to comply with the general plan. So it appears that under the right that we have to determine the effect of the general plan, and like Afton said, there is a bill in front of the state legislature to say, make this very clear that it can't be, the cities don't have the discretion to make it regulatory, that it has to be advisory. But we've taken this provision that allows a city to determine how it's going to be used, and we've taken it, and not only have we said we have to comply as a city, but zonings have to comply. Problem is going to be is the level of specificity that our general plan, specifically this draft that's coming before you, is. And I wanted to show you guys this is very simple. Washington City has a strict compliance requirement to their general plan. They treat it as regulatory as we do. I wanted to show you guys something. If you'll, Daisy, if you'll scroll down to the end of my document, I have a link right there. Click on the first one. Okay, scroll through this. If you want to, this is their general plan. And I would tell you, if you want to go to page 35, I think it is. Actually, let's do page 14. If you'll see right at the top, there's a numbering. It tells you it's whatever number of 66. And this is what I'm trying to help the council understand. Excuse me, page 18. Page 18. More pages down. Okay. This is their general plan, future land use map. This is how Washington City, and they've done extensively, they've gone out and determined how they want their city to look like when it grows up, okay? Daisy, if you will go back to the second link and click on it. This is that same map, but in an interactive format. Okay, if you'll scroll in a little bit so we're closer to up there by the Green Springs area. Yep, scroll in a little bit more. This gets down to keep going in a little bit more. Every lot line has a specific designation of a specific zone. Those are color coded by parcel boundaries, okay?
So if I own one of these two dark crimson parcels right there, and I want to change, or I want to do something that's not allowed, I believe that is their commercial, they've got a hotel out there on one of those, but I want to do something, I want to build a charter school. And charter schools are not allowed in that type of a commercial zone that those two dark red ones are. You know what Washington City is going to require is first, I have to file an application and obtain an amendment to my general plan to show that parcel as, I believe it's the lighter red is what would allow you to do a charter school. I'd first have to get the general plan amended, and then I have to come in and apply for a zone change to that zone. It's a two-step process. That's what our ordinance says too, when it says the strict compliance can be accomplished either by zone change or by, if necessary, an amendment to your general plan, okay? But I'm telling you, our problem is if we adopt this general plan with as general, I wished I could have had and given you a link. I don't know, Daisy, can you pull up the draft of the general plan? I don't want the public to look at it yet because it's going for a public hearing, but please show page 14 of that general plan. If you can get out of that. Okay, just scroll to page 14. Okay, that page right there. Can you zoom in on it? Let me just tell you guys, that is what I call a bubble map. You can zoom that in as far as you can zoom it in. It's not interactive, and it does not go by parcel boundaries. It's not specific to every parcel. I could not zoom in and look at my parcel and see exactly what the city's planners have determined to be what our future land use zoning should be. I don't know how we can have this type of a general plan and have strict compliance. Yeah, strict compliance. Now, I will tell you, what Washington City has done is hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of planning, interactive mapping, and things like that. Most smaller municipalities have general plans that are advisory, non-regulatory, and have generalized future land use maps like this. And that's what the firm that we've retained has done for us. But we go and adopt this, and we keep the mandatory consistency requirement of 10.7.2 in our ordinances, and we've got, every time a zone change comes, we're going to be in a quandary. Because how in the world can we say strict compliance? We can't even identify, we can generally identify where that parcel is on this map, but has there been any true planning designated to that? Because that basically just says everything outside of the downtown area is one color. The gray area is Firelight, the master plan, and everything else is open space except for commercial right along the freeway and down the stuff that Bob Litchfield has down in Shangri-La. That's how specific our general plan is. Not very specific at all. I mean, I could take you back to Washington Cities, and they've broken down their city in areas, the Green Springs area, the Washington Fields area, the historic downtown area, and they have different objectives, and they have very specific land uses for every single parcel. So there's our problem. We either need to, and we have, staff recognizing this has brought this to Planning Commission and proposed a language that changes the general plan applicability from strict compliance to being advisory or non-regulatory. It's been heard twice now, and there's been no recommendation from the Planning Commission. So we either need to give some instruction to the Planning Commission or ask them to please make a recommendation. In state code says that an ordinance, if requested by the council, is sent to the Planning Commission for recommendation. If a recommendation is not made within a reasonable time, then the council can deem it to be recommended for denial and brought to them for final decision. I don't know that we want to travel over the Planning Commission. I don't think we should, but we should ask them very specifically make a determination, because either we need to go back to our general plan prep company and say, and we need to be ready to go spend a lot of money in detailed land use planning and update that map into something that a lot more than what it is, or we need to fix what we have. And this isn't bad. This is what most municipalities, if you go look at Lavericans, you go to look at Leeds, you look at Apple Valley, you look at Virgins, they're all like this. I'm not saying this is bad.
Yeah, like Darren just said,
Just
even
Hurricanes-
Hurricane was
Hurricanes,
like
yeah, same.
Yeah, even Hurricanes is like that. It's not bad, but they don't have strict compliance requirements, because you can't do both. Either you got to be strictly specific, and then you can have strict compliance, or you got to be general, and your general plan has to be general and advisory, not regulatory.
So just as a note, we might want to, for open transparency here, is we do have a very interactive zoning map right now that you can go to, you can click on, you can see.
But it is not,
But it is
it's not the future land use plan.
Exactly, it's
Exactly,
existing, it's
exactly.
not
It's existing.
future land planning. And
Correct.
that's where we're
Mhm.
running into trouble. We do have, yeah, like he said, we have an interactive map, but it's existing zoning. It's not future planning.
Mhm.
That's where we need.
I think we need to get into future planning, though. I mean, that's
100%,
what, yeah,
that's what we're doing.
we
That's
need
what
to do.
Riker's been, that's what Riker's
Yeah.
been.
But can we hear from someone from
Yeah.
Planning and Zoning Commission?
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome. It's not, yeah, not a public.
Yeah.
hearing, but it's-
He's
Stacy Eaton, Planning Commission. So the statement that you just made is not quite accurate. Yeah, this Planning Commission never took a vote to make a recommendation, but we have had at least twice had extensive
Oh, and I've been-
conversations
And I've
about
been to
it.
one, and I know you guys have. I'm not saying you're
And-
doing nothing.
And we all came to a consensus that we feel that it should be left the way it is and be advisory instead of a guidance. It's just never been it's never been put on the agenda so that we could actually take a vote to say, hey, this is our recommendation, but
So what we'll do is the city council will ask you to do that in your next meeting.
yeah, hands down, Planning
Okay.
Commission has said, we want to leave it the way it is.
So advisory or?
No, the way it is, the way it is.
Just the way it is
strict
currently, if we were to
regulatory.
change, we recommended, not officially, but we, in our conversations, to change the language so that we leave it as a, where's the term? Regulatory.
Yeah.
Not advisory,
Advisory.
leave it as a regulatory. If somebody wants to change their zoning, we can change the general plan. I mean, that's just an extra meeting. But if this is going to be changed, if zoning changes is going to be changed to staff, then the public, they'll never have a say in the change of a zoning. So the Planning Commission, the whole purpose is to give the public a chance to have their say. And so that's kind of why we went that direction.
So the mayor, you're going to have that on their planning commission
Yeah, we need to.
agenda. Okay, fine.
Oh.
And could I ask
Sure.
why you did not recommend it? What were the reasons for wanting to keep it a regulatory?
We feel that the Planning Commission, this gives us a very good guidance on changing zoning. We don't just, as a general rule, we don't just, somebody come in and want a zoning change. You know, this gives us a very good guidance on, do we approve it or do we not approve it? But like I say, if and we could see that this is going to be going to staff to change zoning. And again, the public will never have a chance to say, hey, we don't want that zoning changed, because staff will just internally make that decision. And so if it has to go, if somebody wants to change a zoning, then it's going to have to go in front of the Planning Commission to change the general plan. Then the public can say, hey, we don't want that, or yeah, let's do it. And so that is the main reason for that.
Okay, thank you, Stacy.
So
Stacy,
Yes.
you just only had discussion items. You guys never brought a motion.
That
It
is
was only
correct.
discussion.
That is correct.
I think we only
Stacy,
had discussion.
I would be
items.
curious, would you say that map is specific enough to say, no, your parcel doesn't comply with the general,
No.
or your proposed zone change doesn't comply with the general plan?
No, I don't think that is, I think we
So-
should be doing a much better job of changing that.
So
I shouldn't say better.
If
but
that is in
different.
fact what the planning commission recommends, then as a council, you have to make the decision. If we're going to stay with this policy the way that we have been, we need to instruct the staff to work with our general plan company that's helping us with that. And we need to put off adopting this general plan and get it more specific.
I don't know that it needs to be as specific as Washington.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
Washington
that's
is,
pretty
I mean, it is hyper
anal
specific
there.
in
That's-
Washington, but
So
Yeah,
during,
sorry.
at the next meeting, okay, Heath, will you be there and give this presentation to the
will.
planning commission?
yeah.
Okay, so the plan commission will have an opportunity to hear what the challenges are that we deal with, okay? I wholeheartedly agree that the public should not be taken out of the loop when it comes to changing zoning. So hopefully we can find some kind of a happy medium
Yes.
through the planning commission. And because I don't think it's this or that, there can be something that'll fit for Tokerville. So hopefully you guys can reach a recommendation and make some alternative decisions that will help us. That's all, that's my comments.
Good comments.
And Gary, I think it's important to note that currently for a zone change, a public hearing is required at the planning commission level. It's just not required at the city council level. And that moving to an administrative decision will be if that passes in the legislature at the
Yeah,
beginning of
that's
the
a
year.
big-
But as with any state,
exactly.
state law, we can adopt a more restrictive version of that.
Exactly.
And for instance, let me give you an example, Stacy. We could adopt the ordinance to say that yes, zone changes are approved by staff, but the staff has to have a public hearing and
Right.
take public comment before it makes its final decision.
Right.
Now, I know, Todd, you shake your head, but what he's at least saying is if it has to be a general plan amendment, that comes before the planning commission at a public hearing and the public does get to talk about it right there.
Sure.
And then once the general plan is amended, then they got to go for a zone change, which if state code does change, would only be done by staff. So he wants the
Correct.
idea of keeping that strict compliance. So it's a two-step process, one of which includes a public hearing where the public can come and voice their concerns.
So-
Yes, and then the staff could do their part.
When does it go before the state?
It's the next
It's
legislative
next
session.
legislative session. It's not a guarantee.
Yeah,
but
it might not
I
even
will
pass.
tell you that my understanding that the league is in support of it.
So lead.
That's crazy.
A
Todd,
lot of
Todd,
municipalities
you had
are sort of in support of that.
So if the state law passes and sends it to the staff to make zoning changes, how does that affect Washington City's general plan?
Not much, because they would still have to come,
Adopt it and
if their property isn't zoned what the future land use plan says,
Yes.
they have to do a general plan amendment, and that will go to their planning commission for public hearing, and then will go to the council for approval. And then, once it's changed, the zoning designation, the future plan is changed, then it will come to Washington City staff to decide the zone change.
So if I could so that would be a way to alleviate the state law if they pass it, that we as a legislative body here in Tokerville could still retain control of our zoning.
What Washington City's doing is
Okay.
exactly what Chuck has brought up 100 times,
Yes.
is driving the city where we want the city to be. That's what Washington City's doing.
Yes.
They've been
This is-
proactive with
Yes.
some detailed
Yeah.
planning,
And I,
really in a lot of
and I
analysis.
appreciate you putting in that, in our packet, and I had time this afternoon to go over the Washington City, and I think it's a wonderful idea that we should be looking for, because it's gonna take away a lot of this confusion and development problems and zoning and.
Okay, then
coming
you-
to the
But
council.
you need to
with that, we also.
Because it's gonna be designated as succinctly as Washington City has, as we can for Tokerville. We can get our residents' input into that. We can figure out exactly what's gonna go on in all these other areas, and we can decide what we want to keep in open areas, where we want development, and it's gonna be succinct, and we're not gonna have so much.
Then you need to instruct Afton
we-
to start right away on getting a
I
CBD block
understand.
grant
So, yeah.
for planning, and
This
it
is going
needs
to
to be
be
big.
about $100,000 expenditures. So two sides of this.
The-
And in addition to that, we've actually met with Washington City, and it took them over a decade to develop that map. So if anybody thinks that at the October 18th meeting, we're suddenly going to have some interactive future
Understand
zone,
that.
okay, I'm like, This is,
paying
this
for it.
is like,
Well,
a
this-
this is a property tax increase is what you're talking about.
Well, you have been.
Unless we can find
You have-
grant,
I'm
grant
just saying,
funding.
I'm
You
good
are
with grants.
You are the
but-
grant queen, so.
Thank you.
You are the
I'm
grant
trying,
queen.
I'm trying to
So this,
offset property tax.
this sounds like a
But-
long process, but in the meantime, we need to come up with a consistency plan.
And as far as the league, what the league is in support of is the league hasn't weighed in either way on how they feel about the legislature, about the staff decision or not staff decision of the zone change. What they're weighing in on is that the general plan, they're in support of the general plan being advisory. That's what have taken a stand on, is that the general plan should be advisory. So we're just here trying to get on the front end of it. So whatever direction you give is,
So,
let us know.
I have
We're
one-
constantly
I just-
trying to
Yeah,
plan for
I-
the future.
In my opinion, real quick, Joey, is if we need to change the name. General plan means general. If we're gonna make it a mandatory plan, we just say, this is it. This is our mandatory plan. You need to change the name. That's
Well,
my
the
opinion.
state won't let us change.
I know,
the
but
name.
that's where my problem is. It's a general
Yeah.
plan, not a hard, fast mandatory plan. That's just the name. That's just, Joey, what do you have?
I mean, we've been operating under this for years and years and years without issues. I don't think we
Well,
need to make a
hey,
decision, and
Joey,
we do
No,
have a
we-
problem.
we're defending a present lawsuit right now where one of the arguments
Based
being
on
made
this.
is that the zone
Exactly.
change didn't comply with general plan and didn't comply with our strict consistency requirement of
Policy.
1072. So it's an issue.
Okay.
So yeah, we got to go one way or the other.
The other thing, if we go strictly and try to go toward a goal of Washington City, then we are more organized. We don't have haphazard developments, which you might see in other cities around us in Washington County.
Yeah, I like that idea, but we gotta pass something now, because that's gonna take
Absolutely.
years. It's gonna take years and a lot of money to
We
to
got a
make
lot of-
that.
I
We
don't
got
want,
a
I don't want to
potential-
pass something right now
Sure.
without the planning commission seeing it.
Right, no, we're not
Without
passing
any
nothing
Commission
tonight.
has to have a public hearing
Yeah.
before anything,
And,
and they
yeah,
have to make the recommendation.
And I understand that, but we have developments that are going to be, 10, 15, 20 years till we see them come to fruition. So.
Well, that gray section
as
out there,
we're-
that's already, we
Yeah,
don't worry
no,
about
I know,
that.
but for it to actually,
Yeah.
to be built, and that's 10, 15,
I'm-
20
I'm-
years, so it'd be nice if we had a specific plan in place, so we know what's gonna be here,
Actually,
there, and everywhere.
their Washington City map is the GIS with an overlay of colors. That's all it is.
It is.
But the only planning that they've done is highlighting the future.
They have.
That's the only
For
difference.
instance-
They can take that GIS map and
Yeah,
overlay the colors.
If you had that plan, that Washington City's plan, I look at, they're just barely starting to build that new connection of George Washington Parkway connecting with the Southern
Highway
Parkway.
7, yeah.
If you'll look at what they've done in their planning, they want the entrance areas to be commercial specifically. And then they've been very specific on what they want some of the entry points of their city to look like. And they're doing it through zoning and stuff like that. And so we just need to think about those things. And I'm not faulting this map. It just doesn't look like there's been much more than about 15 minutes worth of time. It looks like our present zoning map almost.
I mean,
And even I would say, you need to take Firelight and put in there.
Put in.
Right, right.
Because they have various, in their approved MPDO plan, they have very specific pods of commercial
Right.
versus residential and things like that. So we could put that level of detail in the gray.
we have to be mindful that this city council 5 years from now may not be sitting here. And we want to make sure that we do all we can to protect what the citizens want with respect to the general plan.
Okay, so we need to instruct this planning and zoning commission to hammer this out. We're not gonna tell you which way to go, just go figure it out. So,
So
Okay.
does that put a wrench in the agenda item for the planning commission, Afton?
Say it again.
It's on the agenda for the planning commission, the general.
And this
plan.
document's available publicly. It's been public noticed for planning commission next Wednesday.
Okay, but does this issue here put a wrench in their recommendation to the city council?
For the general plan?
Yeah, the
or-
general, for the
okay.
general.
They're two
If-
separate. We can
if-
receive feedback on this. We can receive feedback on it from the public because they're not allowed to speak about it tonight, but they will be at Planning Commission next week.
If they were to recommend denial of the proposed amendment to 1072 and say, we want to keep it, we think, we recommend denial, we think that it should be kept strict compliance. Then the next item on the agenda could be the general plan, and maybe what they do is if they feel like the other components, because that general plan has a lot of good things in it, but maybe they can recommend approval of that with modifications to like our future land use plan with more detail and specificity or something like that.
So,
Which might require, and if the council feels that way, then we may take, and if we agree with their recommendation, and if that's what it is, probably what you guys need to do as a council when it comes to you is say, we're going to table it, we're going to pump the brakes, and we're going to go back and do some more planning. Pump the brakes for 60 days or whatever, and see if we can come up with a more detailed future land use plan that looks more like this than that.
All right.
thank you.
Makes sense.
Sure.
Wayne,
For-
Stacy?
Doing your homework.
You guys
on
are
that
good?
piece.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I figured I better come upset with Wayne, because I'm nicer.
Well, no,
Had better looking.
But I know that Wayne is a huge advocate for strict compliance.
Yes.
So it probably means you got to be an advocate for more detailed planning in our future land use
Yes.
plan.
I'm
not the chair.
We'll get it. No, we'll get it next week for sure.
We'll get it soon enough, I guess. Yeah, more than that, though.
Dean, real quick, what do you got?
So this will be heard at Planning Commission. It's not.
No, we're not supposed to. We're not supposed to.
He can say that. Come back to Planning
Yeah,
Commission.
absolutely.
You will hear from all the public.
All right, so we're going to move on to item 6, discuss and possible action on resolution 2023, modifying the uniform fee schedule to modify business licensing fees, cemetery fees, animal licensing fees, land use fees, park pavilion and ballpark field fees to include pickleball fees.
So here we are again.
Well, every month, this is good. Get
Every
these
month,
fees straightened out.
Fees. And so, so these are fees and we know we've been through this lots and lots of times over the last couple of years, and we'll keep going through it lots more, just tidying it up. There were some things on here that were some wording. You'll notice it had said for 100 and then it said or less. We just changed that to fewer, but then there wasn't anything between the 101 and 200. So we had to just tidy that up grammatically. And then for 201 and beyond. So those were just some things that we had to tidy up there on there. And then over here, just on our, cemetery, same thing, going through these, just updating again. We went through the cemetery ordinance already. We went through the policy. Now we're updating the fee schedule. Just, if you want to go to the next. And then down here under, we're going to go through this fee schedule pretty much page by page every time we come. We're adding pickleball to this because we've had people who want to rent it, to reserve it and go, and people are there. So we've matched some of these fees on there. It said 18. We've rounded those off. And then I think council's had a chance to see these, but then on here, some of the things under our animal licensing, they said obviously $22 if you have a female dog and $22 if you have a male dog. So we just tidied that up and got rid of that. We've changed this to match our kennel ordinance. So we're trying to align the fee schedule with our ordinances and make sure that those two match, which they're supposed to. And then if we come down here, some other things that we've done, we've changed these on this. So on our conditional use permit application, those were supposed to be identical, and on the fee schedule, it hasn't been updated. So that was there. The affected property owner notice, this is something new that again, as we've gone through these, we're trying to make sure we've upped a lot of our land use fees and things. We're trying to make sure that development pays for development, and that's not a burden that's borne by existing property tax owners. And so affected property owner notices are things when if you want to do something with your property, you're a developer and you've got to notify the people around you. We looked at several other cities, and they are actually charging to cover the staff time that it takes for the stuffing of the envelopes, the mailing them out, and all of those. So Anyway, so this is for the affected property owner notice. This is currently something that the city has been doing and absorbing the cost, just paying staff to do it. And so we looked around, we checked with other cities, 3 or 4 of them, and this was the standard. So this one is a new fee to the schedule. Days, if you want to go down, I think that might have been our last one for this. Yeah, for this one. That was our last one. So we're just, as we go through this fee schedule, you'll see it again in front of you in 2 weeks with more modifications. And they're just, as we find these, what we're really doing is we're taking on a lot of these application fees, we have had a fee in place for a long time. Some of them say, for example, we're like $250. But what we're finding is that the staff time to review, engineer time to review, legal time to review, and those things, those fees, we need to be sure that we're recouping those from whoever it is that wants to develop. And we're just trying to make sure that our property taxes are going for the general maintenance of the city and that they're not paying staff time or things like that to review plans or things of developers. And so anyway, so we've upped a lot of these. So you'll see even more development application fees on the next one that are higher. So
Thank you. This
You
is
wanna-
good work. This is great. Need to be done.
we're trying
Yeah.
to just make sure that property taxes for maintenance and
Yep.
that development pays for development.
Any further discussion on this? You guys need,
Can I buy my weekday burial tonight?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Or you're
you
gonna
said
pay
you said you
extra.
would be here in 5 years.
Weekday beer.
Go up on that to the top ones, the pickleball and things if you want, or.
All right. You okay, Chuck?
Yeah.
Okay. Chuck might not be here after tonight. All right. Okay, I need a motion for our uniform fee.
I make a motion that we approve business item 6, the changes to our uniform fee schedule.
Second.
I have a motion, and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Heath, is this one roll call? It's a resolution.
Oh, it is roll call. All right. Start with you, Joey.
Fees.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, item G7, discuss the possible action on a rental application submitted by Keen Ellsworth, tax ID T170D, current zoning is R120, single family resident.
Ken Ellsworth.
Ken
Oh, Ken Ellsworth.
Ellsworth.
What did I say?
Ken Ellsworth.
Ken Ellsworth.
Yeah.
My bad, I said Keen, I thought it was too easy. Riker, Darren.
Me.
Okay, Darren.
So essentially, as Afton's mentioned earlier, we still have 2 more of these permits as per the current population of Tokerville. That changes as Tokerville grows, just as the ordinance outlines. We have put this into our civic review program, and both Sarah and Riker are doing an awesome job with this. It makes it so much easier to just have the maps that you need, the different things right there in that application. In your package, you'll see that application. You can see the different things. But this is the site. It's up there on Shangri-La. It's the newest home, one of the newest homes up on top. It's near Doug Martin's house there. And we had a public hearing at the Planning Commission, and they recommended approval based on all of the different things that have been come before you guys. One thing to note is that the fire inspection was done this day of, I believe, the Planning Commission happened, and they passed that. And that was issued by that's one of the requirements of the new ordinance is that they receive that.
I can't recall, someone brought up the fact that ownership was an LLC, and did you guys confirm that everything was okay?
Yeah, he is the owner of that LLC. Yep. And he does live there full time.
Didn't the new ordinance though talk about, we kind of got rid of residents mandatory being a resident, didn't we, on that? So.
Yeah, I think the question was just that, I think the question that was posed was just whether or not it should have been in the application should have been in the LLC's name, or if it should have been in the
applicant's
home,
name.
yeah, in the homeowner's name, which, I mean, the applicant, the resident's name. But
Yeah.
Any questions?
That was
Yeah,
clarified.
I got a question on the fire inspection, and maybe Merlin can help me understand it better. So I'm looking at this, and it says vacation rental reinspect.
Yeah, they was showing me that when I come in, and My guess is they probably went there and there was something that was not up to par on it. Maybe they didn't have a fire extinguisher, or they had a fire extinguisher, it wasn't current, wasn't tagged.
Okay.
Because it says a reinspection, so my guess is they came back to look at whatever failed. But
Okay, so-
I'd have to ask the guy that done the inspection, because
Okay.
I don't do those. Those are done in our.
But it's been approved.
Well, no, I understand that, but so part of this packet is we don't have the original, we don't have the,
Yeah, well, not fire, if it's fire extinguisher, yeah.
so my question though is, as part of this packet, we just have the reinspect, we don't have the actual initial inspection. Is that something that?
The actual inspection would have been the same form. This just says reinspect.
Right, but.
And our ordinance just states that they pass a fire inspection. It does
Okay,
not
so it
say how
doesn't-
many it takes.
Probably 90% of the time, we don't even see the fire inspection. We say upon staff recommendations, and staff
Okay.
recommendation is that they have to pass a fire inspection.
Okay.
So we
And-
usually never see it.
And in our program on City Inspect, there's a place for them to go in there.
All items on the
Okay.
inspection checklist.
Because that's on the fire department,
And
not
that's what
us.
the reinspection shows us.
Right, and that's on the fire department if there
It
was
is, it's
a.
their form.
Okay.
It's a very common thing. They'll come in and say, you need to do this, and then they come back and verify. it's done.
Right, no, I understand.
Merlin,
how
back in the
that
day when you
works,
did
but-
inspections,
It was all by hand.
yeah, but I mean,
No fancy forms.
give me an idea how many passed first go around.
When it first came out, not very many at all, because we didn't have a good form that said what they needed to have. Now they give them a list and it shows them what they've got to have, what we're going to be looking for. So it's a lot better
But
than
it's
the old
not
days.
uncommon to fail and have to have a reinspect.
Most of the time it is because they've got a fire extinguisher and it has to be tagged every year. And even being a new one, they might have, if you pull one out of a box and it's this year's extinguisher from Walmart, we let you go off as long as it's stamped this year, and then you have to have it retagged the next year. That's usually a common thing. Another thing is they might not have their electrical panel labeled, so we know what the breakers go to. It's a matter of labeling that. In a rental, they have to have signs like a motel, so if you're in it, you know how to get out of the house, an exit sign. So some of those things are common, but with the checklist, we usually don't have problems.
Okay, so just taking one of these in here, it says, and I don't know if Daisy can bring it up, but if you look at in the blued out, it says exterior building. And then under it in bold, it says building address. And then underneath that in smaller print, it says an address needs to be visible on the building. So those are just things that each property owner needs to do. That's not necessarily saying that this rental was deficient in those areas.
Yeah, if there was a problem in that area, there would be a comment in that box. The guy can make a comment in that box saying no address on the building, so that would cause a fail because we have to have an address on the building.
Okay, and that would be something that would be handwritten on this?
No, it'd actually be typed in. So if you go down to the very bottom,
Okay, so if you go back to my example up above go back, Daisy, up a little bit, where it says, keep going, right there, exterior building, it says building address, and then it says an address needs to be visible on the building. So is that a violation?
no, that's in the program. So underneath it'd be status would be
That would be-
fail
Okay,
and failed because there was not an address on the building.
perfect.
And-
Thanks, Merlin. Thank you.
And just real quick, Todd, it's great you're getting into this, but as a city council, it's not our job to do.
No,
the
I'm just trying to
fire-
understand what comes
Okay.
before me so I can
Yeah.
understand what the
Yeah.
package is and what it includes.
And that's fine. That's fine. It's just if they say it's pass and
Yeah.
we don't need to do
Yeah,
their
if-
job.
if we was to fail somebody, they would tell them when they're there, and then they would email them this back to the person.
Okay.
So they would have this in an email form.
Perfect.
Okay, any discussion on the nightly rental application by Ken Ellsworth?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve business item G7
Second.
with staff recommendations, comments.
I have a motion, a second. Any further discussion on this item? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, item G8, discuss this possible action on a zone change application submitted by Bob Litchfield. The tax ID numbers are those listed there following. So there we go. Questions? Jake, you're up.
Okay. I'm going to start out, since I'm representing Bob Litchfield, I'm going to start out by reading a letter that he sent. So this is from Bob Litchfield. It says, it's important to remember that an RV resort like this will generate additional income to many other businesses in the area. We see the exponential benefit of this already with tourism, races, ATVs, events, parade of homes, and many other activities that bring people to our area. Every citizen in Tokerville is affected by the economic benefits of this city. Making a living and buying a home is difficult enough without taking advantage of the economic benefits that come our way. I've been told this RV resort can generate between $300,000 to over $1 million in revenue each year to Tokerville. I have donated a lot of money to Tokerville over the years, but if Tokerville has so much money that they do not need $1 million a year or even $300,000 a year in added revenue, then obviously I have been foolish to donate. Property taxes bring in $266,000 a year in revenue to Tokerville. This project can bring in more than that at the low end and several times that at the high end. I'm pretty sure property owners are asked, do you want to pay more in property tax or have Shangri-La Valley to provide needed revenue? 90% or more would vote for creating city revenue in Shangri-La. Even on a non-financial basis, would the majority of Tokerville citizens prefer the property to be used for something they and their children can access, use, enjoy, work, have entertainment, restaurants, etc.? Or would the majority of Tokerville citizens prefer it is gated off to the public and remain a private area that they are not allowed to enjoy or have access to? I think the answer is obvious. In my view, it is against America's founding principles and an affront to liberty to not support a person's property rights. They bought the property, improved it, and paid taxes on it. Their ability to do what they would like with the property should be granted if possible. I've heard most of you and most of the planning commissioners make comments like this. If neighbors want to control the property around them, they should buy it. Individual property rights are one of the reasons America thrives. Squeaky wheels should not get the grease. This rewards bad behavior, and it is unfair to everyone else. Ultimately, it disenfranchises those who want to be supportive. They start questioning, maybe I should be more of a pain or the squeaky wheel. Maybe I should be suing the city. Ultimately, it should not even be a factor in a decision like this. It is also inappropriate for city officials to try and protect competitors or competing projects. Free markets are another principle that makes America and individuals thrive. I understand that you want to ensure what is done in Tokerville meets needed standards and criteria. It is important for you to have oversight and guidance on development that happens in the city. I am not asking that this happen without standards, regulations, oversight, and guidance. What I am asking is that you allow a path forward, that you sit down with the developer and create together a plan that will meet all guidelines, criteria, and standards of the city. Sincerely, Bob Litchfield. I would like to discuss more of the facts of this project and keep the emotional side of it out and just discuss facts. So a couple of facts heard in this meeting tonight: Tokerville needs money. Ones that I wrote down ahead of time. According to two different in-person meetings with Zach Renstrom of the Washington County Water Conservancy District, the property has all the needed water for this development. Mike Chandler is here tonight. I met with him. According to Mike Chandler at Ash Creek Special Service District, the current sewer system can handle this development, and it is the responsibility of the developer to pay for and build all necessary infrastructure on the property. Number three, at an initial meeting with Jared Bates, the engineer over FEMA for the city, we know there are a lot of floodplain and floodway areas that dictate what can and cannot be done in those areas. The developer will obviously comply to these requirements. Number four, Tokerville City has ordinances in place that dictate noise, light, density, hillside, and other potential concerns. The developer will comply with all these requirements. The tax rate to the city for this kind of commercial property is based on projected revenue is currently, and I handed you guys out some information. So it ends up being 2.1% of the revenue generated by the property. So you can see the numbers there in the first year, and then as the resort is completed. I brought my statement from the auditor's office. So compared to residential, the tax rate for the city for residential property based on my statement from the county auditor's office is 0.00030,956%. So obviously commercial brings in a significantly higher amount of money to the city. Public clamor and majority rule is not the governing land use authority for Tokerville. If it were, after numerous meetings and ample opportunity for citizens to speak out, less than 1% of Tokerville citizens have voiced any concern regarding this zone change or development. Number 8, and I'm almost done, knowledge of the bypass road is and has been accessible public information for years, and the highway commercial zoning that is part of this property and has been for years that is part of this property has been public knowledge for years as well. But even if it had not been, zone changes can happen anywhere and at any time based completely on the decision of the designated land use authority. In Tokerville, this is our elected city council members. And then whatever questions and things like that you ever be, I'm happy to listen to and answer.
Thank you, Jake. Questions?
Questions for Jake?
Yeah.
I don't have any questions.
Questions for any other discussion then?
I have a couple of things that I'd like to discuss. So there's number one, the planned commercial zone, the actual code that is out there right now. I think it's very, very deficient in what planned commercial should be. Number two, from what I got off of our last discussion, is that if we do make a recommendation to approve this, then we are going against our consistency policy and we're opening up another door for a lawsuit, correct? Because its general plan doesn't show this commercial thing on there.
Currently, we have a consistency policy that doesn't comply with our current general plan either.
So
it contradicts. I mean, they're contradicting. So putting ourselves into a contradiction.
Yes. That's my two comments.
So he explained that. So we're damned if we do or damned if we don't? Or?
Currently, we have a situation where we have to do one or the other, and we frankly have not been amending our general plan's future land use map, because our current plan has a similar map to the one that we're looking at doing again. And because it's general, we've been treating it as general and advisory and not as regulatory, even though we've got that section in our.
I mean, Mr. Litchfield has indicated that it's basically our responsibility, that we have the power to go ahead and allow them to do this. But our responsibility really is to comply with zoning regulations and the zoning requirements. So it doesn't say anything
And the general plan
about-
right now.
Pardon me?
And according to the consistency policy, the general plan.
Right. It doesn't say anything about money coming into the city with respect to making a zoning change. You know,
Well,
the
that's
tax
part-
revenue
well,
is great, but
That, I'm not one or the other, but that's where the Planning and Zoning Commission doesn't look at that. But as a city council, that is
Correct.
one of the things we have to think about. Well, we have to be fiscally responsible to our citizens. So that's, we can't say that that isn't part of our thing we have to think about.
okay. Are they willing to put this in writing, this tax revenue? I don't think so. You're not putting that in writing. It's
Well, no, they
just-
can't.
it's just
Yeah,
a
that's-
projection.
it's-
I can
it's
put
projection.
something like
Right.
this together and
Yeah.
just say, this is how much money the city's gonna have. There's nothing to substantiate those dollars. You know, I don't know what those projections are with respect to how many units are coming in every year and how long, they can't even predict it, especially with the economic situation that we have. You know, if they want to guarantee it to the city, that's a whole different story. But,
No, I understand that, yeah.
you know, I just can't accept the fact that the city's going to get that kind of money with just a piece of paper that says it's coming in. Can't accept it. And I can't accept the fact that when the planning commission denies it because it doesn't meet the standard requirements that are expected for that zone change, why should the city council just ignore what the planning commission is saying? And in addition to that, every single public hearing that we had related to this going commercial, Jake, you've been there. Nobody in this town has come up to that pulpit and said, we want to have this in there. Everybody has come up and said, we don't want it. So I'm in a dilemma.
I listen to surveys that we take related to our general plan. I'm looking at the general plan that we're working on today and the current general plan. It doesn't allow for what the citizens of this town want. And I'm not gonna sit here and say, trade public opinion for money. I just can't do that.
So how many of your public have been to this meeting? How many of your public have responded to your surveys? How many of your public vote?
I understand that, but it doesn't mean I discredit the ones that did vote. You know, and because you don't know what the votes are from the people that didn't submit the survey. We don't know.
I don't, that's true.
But I can assume that the ratio would be about the same. And so if I've got 120 surveys that came in, all of them against commercial development, all of them down there in this area, and we have had the public come in, we've had an open house that developers put on, and he obviously found out the public wasn't for that. So between the open houses, between the public hearings, between the surveys that we've had,
So actually, I can speak to the public meeting that we held, because I called a bunch of people and asked them. They didn't show up. Frankly, most people don't care. They don't care. And when we're talking about tax revenue and you raising people, I mean, you just talked about it tonight. Afton stated to put in this general plan that you guys are talking about, you're going to have to increase property taxes. So how many citizens would prefer some tourism in Tokerville? And do you really want to not have tourism in Tokerville? I mean, you're right next to Zion National Park. You really believe that people in Tokerville don't want to take advantage of tourism?
You know as well as I do. You ask anybody why they moved to this town. You ask anyone why they moved here to Tokerville. And it wasn't because they wanted all this commercial stuff in residential areas surrounding them. It wasn't that reason. So I'm kind of stuck here. I mean, you and I are friends. I love you, but I have to say that I can't make a decision based upon a projected tax revenue, and I can't ignore what I know.
And that's
As
and
I
you,
sit
and you
here-
shouldn't, and you shouldn't, and I appreciate that.
He can. This is his.
He's the applicant.
He's the applicant, so.
Any other comments? Is that a motion that I heard, or?
No, I haven't heard a motion. Do we have any other discussion? Questions? Jake's here.
I want to address actually so those are projected numbers. We don't have, they're based on what other RV resorts are doing, similar to the one that will be here. And when you're looking at potential for opportunity, that's why I brought up so commercial property has a 2.1% tax base that's for the state, that's for the city of Tokerville. As you can see, the city of Tokerville, that's not the state and the county, that's the city of Tokerville. 2.1% commercial tax base, and residential has 0.000956% potential. I mean, this isn't all about money. I agree, this isn't all about money, but you've got to consider money as you're looking to grow a city.
Right.
And then look at what
And
this does to the,
commercial zones in Firelight, fill them up for us. We'd love you to represent all that stuff out there that's open for commercial. Anderson Junction, those are designated commercial areas. I'd love you to find people there.
so tell me in the general plan where this is not designated as a commercial area, because I don't see anywhere in the general plan that it says anything about Shangri-La, other than on the map where it says highway commercial right smack in this property. That's all I see.
The highway commercial is what is that?
It's already zoned highway commercial. That's
It's-
what you're seeing.
There's
is it's
legal
already
issues
zoned.
going on with that.
Well,
particular zone.
it was zoned highway commercial before. There was a section that was already zoned highway commercial.
Off of the Firelight plant.
No, off
Of the original, before the highways were being cut through, the projected, it was already highway commercial.
The whole highway had
Yeah,
had
but the
That's not
city
what
took,
we're talking about.
the city took a whole bunch of land from them, so, we give back, so anyways. But yeah, the original general plan is Shangri-La in that plan.
And that's all that it says about Shangri-La is a red line on the map. No verbiage, no paragraphs, nothing about Shangri-La anywhere else in the whole entire general plan, unless you guys can show it to me. I've looked and looked and looked, and I can't find a single word about Shangri-La.
Except for the fact that it's zoned commercial.
It has highway commercial zoning and it has R120, and that's what we're currently asking for the change on.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
The general plan shows that as R120.
And I think if you look, so when I talk about the exponential benefit of commercial, or actually Bob talks about the exponential use of commercial. So let's say that we get let's say that we get 250 people that come into the park. That's a very low estimate of the numbers that will be in that park. But let's say that we get 250 people that come there. How much more benefit does that bring to all the commercial businesses that Firelight has? That brings in greater revenue. I mean, again, this isn't all about revenue, but that is one of your main jobs, is to provide revenue to the city.
But that area really isn't open to the public unless the residents of Tocqueville pay a fee to get inside.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, just like the national parks aren't open to us unless we pay a fee to get into it. But otherwise, it won't be open at all.
But the fees are pretty substantial. I've looked.
So if you go to Mexico to an all-inclusive resort, you're going to pay a little bit to get into. I mean, I would rather be able to get into them than not be able to get into them.
So anyway, like I said, I'm not making a money decision.
Yeah, obviously not. I'll bring up one more point. I've heard a lot of concern in the public meetings that most of the people that are on Shangri-La up on Tocqueville Heights are concerned that they're coming up onto the heights to access the park, and they're not. So all the people that you've heard that because probably a good majority actually of the people that came out to speak any negative about this, that was their concern. Well, I don't want them coming up past my road, past my house on Tocqueville Heights to get down into the resort, and that's not the access point. They are not coming up there. So.
Okay.
I appreciate our residents coming out and speaking to us, and at the planning commission meeting, I appreciate the staff and the work they've done. Also appreciate the due diligence that the planning commission done on this topic. And also appreciate Jake and what he's done to promote this project. I'm not sure, you presented this letter from Bob Litchfield, and I'm really having trouble digesting the fact that he donated a lot of money to Tocqueville over the years. But if Tocqueville has so much money that they don't need $1 million or even $300,000 a year in added revenue, then obviously I've been foolish to donate. I'm not really sure how to take that. Isn't a donation, and you're not expecting something, or
I don't think he alludes in there in any way that he's expecting anything.
Or the strings attached to a donation?
That's
or,
not,
or
that is not the intention of that
Okay,
letter.
well, I'm not sure how to take that. That's why I'm asking. Secondly, I sat in here in this office, I sat in with the developers, and they went through the project prior to. And I specifically asked them a question whether Tocqueville residents were going to have access to this, and the answer was no. And Bob's letter right here, it said, even on a non-financial basis, would the majority of Tocqueville citizens prefer the property be used for something they and their children can access, use, enjoy, work, and have entertainment, restaurants, etc.? And you said no, they wouldn't have access, and the developer said they wouldn't have
Okay,
access.
so let's clarify. So
Okay.
they do not get free access. You do have to pay to get into the park, but you can pay and get into the park and bring your family down and have a great time. So no, they don't get free access, but they get access to the park.
Okay, and I asked that question to the developer, and his response was, well, it might be filled up with our guests in the park, so there might not be access for the Tocqueville residents.
Well, if it's full, then no, you wouldn't, but you can get on and reserve. I mean, just think of it like a national
Okay.
park.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. Any more discussion? Questions for Jay? Questions for anything? Questions for Eve?
Nope.
Okay, I need a motion.
Make a motion that we not approve item number 8.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Thank you, Jake. All right, calendar events. We have a second annual Tocqueville City Halloween Trunk or Treat, Saturday, October 28th, 2023. It's at the parking lot of the church from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. We have Tocqueville Turkey Trot Trail Run, November 23rd, 2023, at Center Street Park at 8:30 a.m. That is on Thanksgiving Day. Reach Across America, Saturday, December 16th, 2023, at Tocqueville City at 10 a.m. After, are we doing anything on Veterans Day?
Yeah, Veterans Day we have here at it's not a.
At the cemetery, we do it here?
We do the cinnamon rolls here.
Okay,
We
that's
have all
right,
the
that's right. So let's remind all the veterans to come in and get a cinnamon roll on Veterans Day. It's on the 11th, but we're celebrating on the 10th. Are we gonna have somebody here on that have the city council, or the city office? Yeah,
We do it.
we'll do it Thursday before, okay, so.
Is
What's-
the trunk or treat is the city? Or
Yes,
the church?
it's the
or
city.
combination?
It's the city, no, it's just all
Okay.
city, we just use the parking lot.
Okay,
so.
and then the turkey trot, are we involved or is that the separate entity?
It's,
It's theirs, but it's city sponsored. We
Okay.
do donations for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
My question, if you win, do you win a turkey? Usually
Those are wild
usually
turkeys.
winners of
Those
turkey
are
trots get
regulated by
turkeys.
this Division of Wildlife Resources. We can't do anything with those.
Yeah.
So. Yep.
Well, yeah, wreath, you did the wreaths, right?
Yep.
And then
December 16th, Reach Across America, which has been a great program. We've been doing that for a couple of years and it is absolutely wonderful. So I, invite everybody. We'll talk about it again between now and December, but that's a great program. So, all right. We
And
do
then-
need a closed session this evening.
And then this one is
October 12th.
Oh,
the city event, but this,
The
so this one
readiness.
Yes.
came up for.
yeah, emergency plan. Yep. So let's keep people reminded about that. We'll get the signs a couple days ahead of time. We'll get them out and just remind everybody. Okay. So we're going to close this section of our open meeting. And thanks for coming and thanks for helping us out.
I'd make a motion to move into a closed discussion of character, professional performance, physical, mental health of an individual,